All right, I'm going to just demonstrate pretty quickly how to record and playback control automation using Macs. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a dial, and I'm going to configure this dial so that it has a range of 0 to 1, and I want to display a float value. And what I want to do is create a panel, and I want this dial to control the color in this panel, or maybe the intensity of the color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a trigger that's going to take a float, and then a 0, and then a float, and a 1. And what that should do is it's going to construct a 4-element output for whatever the value is out of this outlet, a 0, same value again, and then a 1. So I'm going to join those 4 things into a list, so I can use the background fill color attribute. And now when I move this dial, you see it's changing intensity of color, kind of a purple. I'm going to also just copy all that, and instead of F0F, I'm going to make it F0, and now it's changing a yellow intensity. So I've got 2 knobs, and it changes these values. Now what I want to do is I want to take these 2 knobs and I want to record and playback their changes over time, so that I can, after manually moving the knobs, I can hit a button and have it play back that automation. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect these 2 dials from each other, from the rest of the patch, and I'm going to make these dials have a message, be a message. So I'm going to prepend whatever comes out of them with the word left, let's say. So that will be prepended to the word, have the word left in front of it. And over here, I will prepend the word right. So now, if we take a message box and just look, now you see I've got left in that value. And if I'm over here, it's going to say right and whatever value I've set up. So we'll use these 2, and what I want to do is I want to send to a channel, and I'm going to call it control. So I'm going to send those messages into control and these messages into control. So now to get them to modify these 2 things again, I'm going to receive control, and I'm going to route the messages between left and right. So if a message comes in from this guy that has left in it, then it will come out of this outlet, and I'll pop that in there, and then if it says right, it'll come out of this outlet, and I'll pop that in there. So now you can see as I move this knob, I'm changing the left messages, and as I'm moving this knob, I'm changing the right messages. So now what I want to do is I want to be able to capture and replay these messages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an object called MTR, which is to record and sequence messages. So there are several messages that MTR will receive. It will take a play message, it will take a record message, it will understand a clear and a stop. There are several messages that MTR will can understand. These are just the ones I'm going to need for this demonstration. So I'm going to have a record function, a playback function. I can clear all the automation, and I can stop. So I'm going to do it that way. So now that I've got this set up, the question is how do I get these messages in there? So I'm going to receive control, and when you send a message to a send and receive pair or a send and receive object, it will fan out to all the receivers. So this, when a left message comes in, it will be sent to control, and this will receive the message, and this will also receive the message. So they both are going to get that same message. Now the right inlet on MTR is what we're going to be controlling. Now MTR has a lot of flexibility and power. You can have channels or tracks that you can record. Everything I'm doing here, I'm just using a single track. It's just a kind of a global thing, but you could give a parameter to these messages, like record 1, and it would start recording track 1, and you could play 2, and it would replay track 2, etc. So now I want to send actually this is not correct. What I really want to do is not control, but I'm going to call it automation. So over here, whoops, I'm going to also send these messages. Besides sending them to control, I'm also going to send them to an object that is called automation. So here I'm going to receive automation, and I'm going to send to control. Just like that. Now, I think I'm set up okay. So let me go ahead and lock my patch, and I will demonstrate it. So I'm going to hit clear to clear out any automation that's there. There's not any right now. And then I'm going to hit record, and then I'm going to start moving these dials around. So hit record, and then I'm going to make that dark and make that dark, and then make that real bright, and then make that real bright, and then back to the middle, about right there, and then I'm going to hit stop. So I've recorded now those changes into the MTR object. So when I hit play, you'll notice the color is changing. This color is changing. Back up, bright, bright, and then back to the middle again. So you can see how in real time, in the same time sequence that I recorded it, it's getting played back to the control. Now, there's one thing that I would really like to be able to change. I'm going to hit play one more time. As this is changing, you notice my knob is still sitting at 0.51. It would be nice if my knobs would reflect the values that are being played back. So that's what we'll do now. So I'm going to unlock, give myself a little room. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to receive control, and I'm going to route it left and right like this, and I can send left and right to these two knobs. Now I'm not gonna try it yet because there is a fatal flaw in this setup. So you notice if I change the knob, then it's going to send to control, and then it's going to receive control, and that's going to set the knob, which is going to send to control and receive from control, and this is just an indefinite loop here. It's going to continue and probably crash or make Mac stop processing it because it's going to just flood itself with messages. So there's something you can do with the dial. Is you can prepend. I'm going to prepend the word set. So what happens is the set message, if we look at, so the help, for example, for the live dial, you'll see set says set a value without causing output. So that lets the control send the message and not cause that loop to happen, because it's not going to send anything out of the dial when it receives one of these set things. So let's go ahead and just play again. And now you notice the dial moving. There's that dial moving, and they move in sync with the changes that I'm making on my that I made with the control. So that's basically what you need to do this kind of automation playback. I'll show you a couple of other things. The MTR object also has an attribute called loop. So if you set that loop object and play, now the automation will run as normal, and then when it gets to the end it will repeat, and it will do that indefinitely. There's one other thing that we can talk about. I'm going to hit stop here. One other thing that we can talk about is how does this actually work inside the MTR object. And it stores this automation in a dictionary object. So I'm going to create a dictionary object, and I'm going to send a message dump to the MTR. When I do that, then the dictionary is going to contain all of the automation. So if I look at the dictionary, you'll see it's a JSON file, and it shows events, and it shows me 3 values: a time, a message, and an argument. So the time is in milliseconds. So between the time that I pushed play and moved my mouse over and started manipulating the dial, it took 1732 milliseconds. The message was left, which is this dial, and the value it says is that. And if you go down further, you'll see left, 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 sending all these left messages. And then here's some right messages where I started changing the right side dial. And it goes all the way to the end. You could save this dictionary in a file, and you could reload the dictionary and play back. So it's not necessary to be recorded in real time. You could even write some code to generate automation and write it out in that JSON format, and you'd be able to use it in the MTR object as well. You can send it a dictionary, you can load it into a dictionary object, and then you can send it that dictionary name, and MTR will load from that dictionary. So that's about it. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I'm going to let it go at this, and if there are any questions you have about how this works, or if you have a better idea for how to record and playback control automation in Macs, please let me know.